Svetasvatara Upanishad. This is where we stopped the last time on page 114, and we finished the eighth verse, and today we take the ninth verse. I'll read the Sanskrit and then we can say. Pranan prapidya iha sanyukta chesta kshine prane nasikayo swasitah dushtasvayuktamiva vahanam enam vidvan mano dharayet apramattaha.
She's waiting for a ride.
One who is truly restrained in one's action should, having fully controlled the vital forces in this body, exhale through the nose when the vital force has become powerless. The unerring wise man should hold this mind under control, like keeping under control a chariot to which is yoked an unruly horse. A few things there. And this is according to the book. Swami Vivekananda translates it as the person of well regulated endeavors controls the prana, and when it has become quiet, it breathes out through the nostrils. The persevering sage holds the mind as a charioteer holds the restive horses. So we have this also. There are two things that are needed to be understood here. One is prana. There's a huge, you can say, interest in this pranayama, and obviously because people think it's an easy thing. It's a kind of a shortcut, probably. And what happens is, we'll discuss a little about prana today. Now, people equate it with breath, but actually, it's not breath. Its movement produces breath. What is prana? Prana and ayama means the control of prana. Okay. This whole universe has got two things which are, apparent. One is matter, substance in all its various manifestations. Suns, moons, galaxies, stars, everything. Bodies, chairs, tables, everything. That's matter. That's solid. What animates this matter? It's called, there's a universal force called prana. It's in the sun, like Vivekananda said, the stars and the galaxies, it's in the plant, it's the insects, humans, everywhere. Matter and energy, matter of force. These are the two things apparent. Yeah. So naturally, the inquiry will be, what is the source of this universal life? What's the highest generalization? Where does it arise from? Prana is equated with life, okay, and it's equated with minds also. In our body, this force not only produces metabolism, respiration, all these things, digestion, but also produces thought. Thought also is a manifestation of this vital force, life force. Got it clear? Okay. So matter, that which animates matter, prana, life force, and the mind, they are one entity, actually. Now, when we want to control this prana, what we are trying to do is trying to control a certain section in this whole universal prana. Like there's a huge sea of prana, the universal energy, a universal force. And we are trying to just control one wave in that sea. And where is that wave? It's in our body. What happens if you can control one wave in this? You get a control. You can control almost the whole of this universal prana. Now that's speaking a lot. I mean, can you imagine a yogi who has the power to control these universal forces, becomes omniscient? So that is the actual meaning of pranayama, controlling the universal, you can say, power by manipulating certain things in the body. Take, for example, the breath. Now, why do we manipulate the breath? How can we control this? So, what happens is, as Vivekananda says, there are what is electricity? What is electromagnetism? What is electromagnetism? Yes, electrons moving or ions moving from one direction to another in a straight line. It's going through wires. If you can have these small particles move in a kind of a straight line, they become it becomes electricity. We have electricity all over the room. The other day, somebody came and he touched a metal, a kind of a bolt in front of the temple, and he got a big shock. Hey, that's power. I said, nothing, it's just static electricity. He was so, but it's energy. Saying, yes, it's energy, but then,
Hello, Swamiji.
yes, you've got a task.
What did you say, Swamiji? Don't bring more light?
Yes.
More light. Just have to flip these.
As simple as that.
So let there be light. Okay.
It's a dimmer.
Yeah, yeah. There.
I just talked to Swami Satyamayananda.
Yeah.
I haven't seen him since he came.
So we have it's electricity everywhere. It's power everywhere. Because that's a universal power. It has to be everywhere. And that is what is molding forms, breaking forms, renewing forms, dissolving forms, creating new ones, manipulating all these things. This force is everywhere. It's a universal force. Now, in our bodies, what happens? This force, if it can be regulated, your thought will be turned into something called will. We all talk about willpower, willpower, willpower. What's willpower? The yogi wants to make the whole body a kind of a battery. A battery of what? Of will. Okay. And how does he do? He or she does it by rhythmically breathing. So what happens? There is a kind of a rhythm that is first generated in the lungs. The lungs work on the heart. The heart works on the circulation. The circulation works on the brain, and then your nerve, the rest of the nerves also becomes kind of a rhythm. A kind of a rhythm comes in the whole system. That's the idea of preliminary control of the prana. Your body, which is now subject to uh, what do you say, disturbances. The life forces are all in a kind of a disarray, or they are moving in different directions. You make them into a kind of a harmonious whole. And how do you do it harmoniously? Sit down straight and break that breath into movements. Inhale, stop the breath in, hold the breath in, and exhale. So one movement is broken into three parts now. And now you can slowly manipulate one part, the inhalation. You would break it into 4 seconds you inhale. You hold a breath for 8 seconds and you exhale for 16 seconds. Okay. And there are various combinations. Now, there is something called holding the breath in and as well as holding the breath out. Holding the breath in is a little dangerous. Holding the breath out is much better, safer. There is also what we say is as the nerve currents which are flowing through one's body. Now they become rhythmic. And as they become rhythmic, this power now which is in you is now a material power. This slowly, as it becomes rhythmic, it becomes psychic power.
It becomes what?
Psychic.
No, before, but
It's a material power.
resonate, did you say?
It's a material body right now, and then it becomes a kind of a material, the material forces.
Yeah. You said a word resonate. This word becomes resonate?
Yes, it
What does
becomes
that
a kind of
mean?
harmonious.
Ah,
It becomes a kind of rhythmic.
resonate. Use that word.
Yes.
I have never heard it.
Yeah,
That's
it's
to
a resonance.
resonate. I
Yes,
see what
yes,
you mean.
yes, yes.
Oh, before we go too far on, holding the breath in. So by that, do you mean the length of time that you hold it in
Yeah,
versus
yeah.
the length of time that
Yes,
you
yes,
exhale?
yes,
So
yes,
safer to
yes,
exhale long.
yes. Uh, so once the whole system is in the kind of a rhythm, it's resonating there within you. These two currents, which are called here the Ida and the Pingala, it's not this and this. These are the nerve currents here in your spinal cord, which are running up and down, the sensory and the motor nerves. You know, you have a sensation and it goes up, the nerves carry it to the brain, and the brain gives the order. It's kind of a motor. Because if thoughts would come in and you cannot do anything about it, imagine a mosquito coming and sitting on your nose, and you have all the information, but you cannot act on that. You know what's how unpleasant it's going to be. You see food, ah, all the information is coming in, but you cannot eat. What's the use of your brain then? So the your body has a sensory and the motor nerves. Okay? There's a, like, we have the immune system, the autonomic nervous system, all these things are there. But then these are the two main activities that are happening, that occur in your spinal cord. These are the two bunches of nerves, clusters of nerves running from the brain right down to the sacral plexus, right down here. There is another nerve, the yogis say, which is called the Shushumna. And as these material forces are circulating in the body, in a kind of a eight, it keeps on. Uh, the sensation, the power that is out here, it crisscrosses at the back of the neck and it comes over on this side. So the left becomes right. So if you, like they say, if you have a stroke here on the left side, then your right side gets paralyzed. Yeah, and the right side and the left side. So they crisscross there. And as they keep on circulating, it's like these huge ocean currents in this. You have this. We think that the ocean, oh, so nice, but there are huge currents. They bring heat and they distribute cold, and all these things are there. They are actually the lifeline of human beings. Also, all plants and animals and all depend on these ocean currents. Huge currents circulating. Everything that has kind of life or the giver of life circulates. So these material forces also circulating. And as you keep on bringing them into a kind of a rhythm, these forces enter into the channel of the Sushumna. A little. Ah. And as it traverses up, these material forces become psychic forces. Simple. And these psychic forces then become, when taken higher and higher, become spiritual forces. Your body is converted into a spiritual body. Take, for example, Sri Ramakrishna was once, uh, at one time, he and his nephew, Hriday, were in the Panchavati, near their places of residence, and they were in a grove of 5 trees. So, Hriday, his nephew, seen Sri Ramakrishna's body as luminous. And, uncle, your body is luminous. And then he sees his own body. My body also luminous, and their feet are not touching the ground. Uncle, we are not ordinary beings. Come, let us go to the city, Calcutta, and liberate everyone. And he kept on shouting and shouting, and Sri Ramakrishna touched him, and hey, such a big noise you're making. I see so many things every day, and I don't make such a big noise. And then he became dull again. He became this body again, material body. What actually happened? Those material forces, somehow they had entered into that Shushumna channel and they converted into spiritual force. There is only one force. You call it matter, you call it mind, you call it spirit. So it's just on the very lowest level, these forces are called material forces. The same Swami Vivekananda, he was uh, making a joke out of. And Sri Ramakrishna said that everything is God. You see, the rishis have said. He was reading the one of the uh, books on Advaita Vedanta, Ashtavakra Samhita. And these guys must be crazy. Everything is everything is God. These people must have been crazy or out of their minds. And he left the room and went to his friend, and they're both chatting and laughing. And hey, see, everything is. Huh. Shri Ramakrishna comes and sees, oh, what's happening? He just touches Vivekananda on his chest. And what does Vivekananda see? Everything has divinity. What actually changed? Nothing changed. His perception, of course, but the objects, nothing. Everything was there. He only saw them as divine. What we are seeing as material is actually divine when these forces within you are converted into the spiritual forces. That is the goal of pranayama, not yeah. There are you know there are some creatures that can hold their breath for much longer periods than human beings, and they are fine. It's okay. So what's wrong? Just holding breath? No, no, it's not holding a breath. So yeah, even in human beings, there are these uh, pearl, you can say divers. They can dive without oxygen for 5, 6 minutes or even more. I think the world record, I don't know, but 8 minutes or something like that. What they do, they go into kind of a trance-like state. They keep close your eyes, go into a trance-like state, and then take a long deep breath and they dive deep. And then they open their eyes, they go around, they fish with kind of a crude, you can say, spear gun. Uh, there's one magician who I think held his breath for 18 minutes, something like that. 18.
Yeah.
18. Blaine. What?
Well, I mean, this might be too big a question, but for right now, but going from the neti, and then all of a sudden, oh, everything.
That is a different system of philosophy and metaphysics. Neti neti. That's a Vedanta. We are just talking about now yoga.
Oh,
Okay.
is this Raja?
Yes, this in fact in our previous classes we've seen that this was a forerunner of even this Raja Yoga, Patanjali Yoga. He's
Okay.
talking about sit down straight with three parts of your body held erect and all these things. So this predates the Raj Yoga, the book called Raj Yoga. So to come down, no, one who is truly restrained in his actions. Now, what does it mean, truly restrained? We are on page 114, the last. Yeah? Truly restrained in the actions in the sense of what? Here, the Bhagavad Gita says, one who eats too much or too less cannot be a yogi. One who sleeps too much or too less cannot be a yogi. And in similar fashion, one who talks too much or too less, everything. It's a kind of a middle path. So one has to be restrained in one's speech and actions. So this is what it says. One is duly restrained in action should, having fully controlled the vital forces in this body. They're now on page 115, on the first line. Having fully controlled the vital forces in this body. How does a person does that? He does it through this pranayama. The previous mantra showed how to do it. Now, in many people who practice pranayama, suddenly they make a loud kind of no sound should come at all. It should be soundless. When you inhale or when you exhale, there should be no sound. Otherwise, like the neighing of horses. You see some pranayama sessions and you've got 20 or 30 people sitting down and oh my god. So fully control the vital forces, that is, he or she has inhaled, held the breath in. Okay, that's fully controlled. Now when one controls the breath in the body, It's called the kumbhaka. It's like a pot.
Is it dog?
Maybe a dog.
Dog.
No, it's a dog, but it's in distress of
Yeah, in
some
distress
kind,
and must be fighting with some other dog, probably. Could be. So when the breath is held inside, it's like kumbhaka means it's a jar. Like you close the jar. There is air in the jar. You know it. Close. Now, what happens in this case is when you inhale and you hold your breath in, that breath inside expands. Okay. You may not, because they say when you inhale, you have to fill your whole body with prana. That is from here up till your toes. You have to, when you inhale, it's not just filling the lungs up. You fill your whole body with this prana.
Do you imagine that?
No,
No.
that's not imagination. That's real.
And so there's nothing special you have to do to invoke that. It's just the breathing. It will happen naturally.
Yeah. And then once it's held inside, you know, it expands. The vital force expands. In fact, all types of, you can say, illnesses or diseases are due to the unequal distribution of prana. Oh, yes. If you see that there's one part which is hurting you, you know that the prana is less in that particular part of it. So the yogi can send his or her prana to that part and cure that part. Chandrika is here. She knows about this chi, hmm, tai chi, and this, the acupuncture. They are just trying to uh, uh, activate certain channels in the, you can say, system. Now, in acupuncture or acupressure, or even this pranayama, there are various channels in the body apart from your nervous, you can say, system, nervous channels. In nerves, you have nerves, but these are very fine astral tubes. They they're kind of network all over the body. You are in a kind of a fish net within inside, and these things have been mapped. And you put a kind of pin in one part, you can get excessive pain on the other part, or you want to relieve that pain, you can put a kind of a pin out there and cure that. Oh. So these are the nadis, they are called in Sanskrit, channels, astral, you can say. It is more like astral tubes, and they have different colors.
What do you make of the spiritual luminaries and giants who had health problems? And
What?
yogis?
Yes, but when you are a spiritual luminary, what you do is, unfortunately, you attract people, obviously,
Uh-huh.
and you also take part of their karma.
Um,
Oh, yes.
you mean even if whether or
Oh,
not
yes.
they're formally a guru?
Yes, yes, yes,
Just a
yes, yes,
nice.
yes. That person cleanses this whole atmosphere.
You're talking about holy people,
Yes,
gurus.
yes,
and
yes.
And not just gurus.
Just what?
Not merely gurus, but also people who
People
are
who are
On the
spiritually,
spiritual path.
yes.
I
So they tend to attract people's karmas, take it in themselves, number one. Secondly, when the mind is keyed to a very high level constantly, the body suffers because the body cannot keep up to that kind of basic. You try to drag something up. Somebody is fallen in a kind of a well, and you throw a rope inside, and uh, and you're pulling, and that person is about say 300 pounds. How can you imagine? And you are just 50 or 60 pounds, and I can't let go that rope. That the body suffers this. So the mind and the, you can say, the vibration of the prana has become so subtle, so fine. The body cannot keep up to that. So there's a you can say incident in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. Avanath was a devotee of Sri Ramakrishna. He came to see Sri Ramakrishna one time in Calcutta. So Sri Ramakrishna asked him, "Why do you not come to Dakshineshwar? It's been a long time." So you see, my joints and all these things are aching. So Sri Ramakrishna said, turn down for a couple of notches your mind. Bring your mind down a couple of notches. Then your body will become okay. Yeah, you. So that's the reason why people generally have this kind of. But to us, yes, they suffer and they this and that. But for them, it doesn't touch their minds. While for us, a little hurt here makes us so restless the whole day. My God, I stubbed my toe and God, I'm restless the whole day.
Because they're less attached to the material
Yeah,
outcomes.
yeah, yeah. So,
Swami.
yeah.
So you were talking about holding the breath, in, but then you said it's better if you hold
Yeah,
it out.
yes,
How do you hold it out?
yeah, it's simple. So, like you inhale, exhale,
And then
yeah, that's it.
And it's not to the nose, not to the mouth.
Not through the mouth.
Okay.
And here it says one should breathe through the nose. Yeah, he's saying having fully controlled the vital forces in this body, exhale through the nose. When the vital forces have become powerless.
Now, ideally, if there's a 16-second exhale, are you supposed to try to keep the exhale going for the 16 seconds?
Yes. Of course, there are again 64.
Uh-huh.
Oh, there's a huge, you can say. That's the one unit. In the lowest pranayama, once it begins, pranayama begins. So the lowest pranayama, there is sweating. You sweat, and there's a kind of a tremor in the body. And in the higher pranayama, there is something called levitation. Yes. Yeah. Oh, these things are part of the science. Levitation. There. Because that same force which is outside is also within inside. You've controlled many things, your body becomes light. Sri Ramakrishna, when he was in that samadhi, this famous picture of Sri Ramakrishna.
That's right there.
Yeah,
And the water.
that one.
Oh, over there.
When the photographer was clicking, he wanted to adjust his kind of face. He puts it, just pushes his chin a little aside and his whole body. And Swami Vivekananda, don't touch him on that state. Let go. And then he was terrified. Huh? What happened? And then Ramakrishna's body slowly floats down to the ground. And then the photographer comes in. In the old days, that big black cloth and the contraption clicks. This is it. So,
Should have got him up in the air.
hmm,
Should take that picture up on the ceiling.
Yeah.
as the material forces become spiritual, you have a lot of experiences, psychic experiences. The problem is people are not ready for those things yet. And when they see certain powers of the yogi or the yogini, miraculous. There's nothing miraculous about this. Of course, people want miracles. Religion means miracles. What's wrong with you? You don't have any power to perform miracles. But it's only the very, you can say, stupid minds who come to religion with the idea of miracles. I want miracles. And if a person wants miracles, then you can practice this pranayama, control of the mind, and then you'll get a lot of miracles, miraculous powers. These powers are also studied thoroughly by this Patanjali. And there's a way to acquire them. Now, take for instance, suppose you can meditate. You can meditate on the tip of the nose. Okay? Yeah. You'll see visions, you'll see things. You meditate on the tip of your tongue. It's like you will get beautiful taste, and in the middle of the tongue, you will, as if you. I think yeah, it's smell, and then at the root of the tongue or the palate, you will get various. You can say those things are not outside, but if you can meditate on certain parts of the palate and the tongue and the nose also, you get all these sensations inside. This divine sense of sight and taste, touch and smell. Yes, and the root of the tongue, we can touching something, something else, something is touching you. These these things are quite. These things are studied and then they've been experimented upon by plenty of people for thousands of years. But the greatest, you can say, power that a person can have is the power of purity. And that is what Sri Ramakrishna and all the sages and saints they talk about. You you exert yourself to become pure. And even in Patanjali he says that Pratibhatava Saurava. Through the power of purity, you can get everything. Everything. Samadhi, everything. So to come back to the verse again, uh, having fully controlled the vital forces in this body, exhale to the nose when the vital force has become powerless. That is, it has come under your control. We need to. Swami Vivekananda met a sage before he could come here, of course, Babhari Baba, who never was found to be eating for days and days and months. So he could absorb this vital energy from the atmosphere. He never had to eat. And he could bury himself for days and even weeks and sometimes months. What about breathing? Why? You can bring your body and mind to a very equine state where you don't need to breathe, but you're alive. Oh yes, these are various things that you can you can come to with this pranayama. Okay, so when the vital forces become powerless, that is, you have them under your control now, and you can do, you can breathe like you want, or you don't want to breathe, don't breathe. Okay, like suppose I'm not hungry, I'm not going to eat today. Well, don't eat. So what? So I don't eat today. Fine. Everything is perfectly. I towards evening, then I'll feel a little hungry. I'm feeling hungry. Eat. Okay. So your eating and not eating is more or less like autonomic, but then there is, to a certain length of time, it is under your control. Something like this. And here is saying the unerring wise person should hold his mind under control, like keeping under control a chariot which is yoked and unruly horse. These horses are the senses. Yeah, so we get. So that person has now through pranayama has controlled the mind. So instead of controlling the mind through pranayama, can the prana be controlled to the mind? Yes. And that's what Ramakrishna advises. Because there are a lot of preconditions for pranayama. Don't fool around with that universal power that's running within you. You don't know its limits. It can break you. It can make you, can break you. Make you if all the rules are followed, can break you if you break those rules. So why bother? Why go to something dangerous? Spirituality means something safe. So you control your that is a universal force through the mind. Are they distinct? No, the highest manifestation of this prana is thought. Oh yes, it's not the brain. It's a thing that animates this body. Now this thought also has three levels. One level is unconscious actions. What we have done is like this semantic knowledge, that the knowledge of these words that we study in childhood, they become automatic and we can speak without any effort. It just comes out. So how did you learn this English language? Well, I practiced a little like you all did and became automatic. From conscious action become subconscious action. So prana works on the subconscious level also, on the conscious level also. There is one more level where prana also works. That is the super consciousness. So prana takes you up there. It's only in the when the prana enter the super conscious realms, then you can control your body and your mind and everything. Not only you can control everything. You can cure people. Hmm. In the gospel of gospels, uh, you have Jesus Christ curing even at a distance. That centurion's servant, I think, was ill, and say but the word, and the servant will be healed. So how did you? How at a distance you can do that? How through pranayama? Huh? Who is it? Yeah. So all these miraculous powers are not miraculous anymore. They are just powers under certain higher laws of the mind. That those laws of the mind are studied under this Raj Yoga, Patanjali's Raj. So, so an unerring wise person should hold this mind under control. Yes, it can have the mind under control. And when the mind is under control, what happens is it enters into that, along with the life force, enters into the superconscious realms. And once it enters into the superconscious realm, there you are.
Then what?
There you are. You
There you
go
are.
spiritual. You become spiritual. Those forces which are material now, they become spiritual. That's the idea. Spirituality, every prayer, if done with dedication, with faith, and with concentration, opens up these layers. In the beginning, we had commenced with speaking about the Shushumna. Either you use that symbology or just subconscious, conscious, and superconscious as the mind enters into those realms, the universe is seen, in Vivekananda's words, in its fine and finer forms and causal forms. This universe is not so simple as we think it is. It is a layer of a layer of a layer of a layer of prana. It's like the ocean. The depths of the ocean, it's the heaviest part of that water. Why? Because the water on top pushing it down. You go down and your lungs will burst and your body will simply collapse at that time. Uh, yeah, you can swim only on the surface, a little down below, where the body can push against that, but a little down and where. So prana also is like that. Prana and akasha is like that. Layers and layers. We are in the densest layer here. And as you keep on rising higher and higher and higher and higher, from that we enter into realms of spirituality. There it is. So yes, so we can take a few questions.